Sacramento County DA Thien Ho helped bring a notorious serial killer to justice, and now he's telling his story. His new book, The People versus the Golden State Killer, gives never-before-heard details about the case that captivated the nation.
Yes, Thien Ho joins us live in studio. Thien, welcome so much this morning. Pleasure to having you. We were just talking during the break. We have so many questions, and you know the book's going to cover some of it. But you were the lead prosecutor in the case. Why did you finally want to tell this story in your own words?
You know, it's really about telling the stories of the victims. You know, Michelle McNamara wrote her book, but it was focused on the crime and the criminal. But I wanted to focus on the victims and the generation of law enforcement officers that never gave up their search for this monster.
Yeah, this is a huge story. He was a monster, but I'm not from California. I was asking you some of the details of the case. What made this case so captivating? And give us a little overview for people not as familiar.
Well, he committed 13 known murders, upwards of 50 sexual assaults, 120 burglaries in 11 different counties up and down the state of California. Over 12 years. And the thing was, he was a cop during most of those crimes, and then he went dark for almost 30 years until we caught him using genetic genealogy.
And it makes you wonder, I mean, for going dark for that many years, did he just stop? Were there other murders? I mean, that's something that's, you know, a question a lot of people have. But, you know, is there a moment in this investigation or prosecution where you're just like, hey, this has stayed with me? Because I can only imagine you've dreamt about this, you've had nightmares about it, because you're in it. You're in this man's story.
You know, first of all, I get asked the question all the time, why did he stop in 1986 with the last known murder in Orange County? And every time somebody asks me that, what I tell them is, how do you know he stopped? Because we retrace his life, but there's 3 years in which we don't know where he was or what he was doing. And he was here in LA from 86 to 89. And he was already evolving as a predator. And we take in so much evil from this case as prosecutors, as first responders, law enforcement. You know, I had problems sleeping. And when I slept, I would dream sometimes I'm the victim, sometimes I'm the defendant, sometimes I'm just a fly on the wall. It's hard to turn off that switch.
Yeah, absolutely.
I could only imagine. As a prosecutor, though, you have a fascinating career, and I'm sure there's many cases that probably haunt you. What made you want to turn this one into a book?
You know, again, it's really about focusing on the victims and the survivors and how they turn their pain into power, their tragedy into triumph. And we cover some of the stories of the victims and how they found their voices.
Give us a little bit of one that you think stands out that people are going to be intrigued by.
So the first story is about Chris. She was 15 when she was sexually assaulted. Her father told her to never talk about it again. So as if it was buried deep inside of her. She went to 3 different schools in 6 months, failed marriages, alcoholism, drugs. But through this case, the day he was arrested, everything opened up. Now she started a nonprofit to help survivors, and part of the proceeds go to support that nonprofit, Phyllis's Garden.
I love that. You know, talking a little bit about this story, you know, a lot of these people were assaulted or they died and the case was cold. Was there a moment when you were paying attention to this case where you thought maybe it would not be solved?
You know, I first found about the case in 2012, and everybody said he was dead. But then all of a sudden, you know, justice never rests. We kept pursuing him for 40 years, and lo and behold, when we found him, he looked like a grandpa wearing cargo shorts, 2 socks, and a T-shirt.
I mean, he looks kind of creepy in these images, though.
Oh, he's even creepier in his jail cell. He was pacing around like an animal, a caged animal.
I'm sure you have so many fascinating things in this book. We can't wait to read it. But not only are you covering this case, you're also sharing some of your life story in this book. So tell us a little bit of that. We understand that you went from being a refugee to DA, which is really amazing. Tell us more about your life.
So I was born in Vietnam. My family escaped on a fishing boat. We were lost at sea for 2 weeks and rescued. I spent 6 months in a refugee camp. Came to this country, couldn't speak a word of English. I joke around that I learned how to speak English by watching Bugs Bunny cartoons.
Wow.
20 years later, graduated from law school. I'm now one of 10 Asian Americans who are elected DAs. And in fact, I'm going to be here with the elected DA of LA in a little bit later today.
That is really amazing.
Yeah.
A testament to really what you can do if you put your mind to it. Well, thank you so much for this.
I
We cannot wait
do
to
have
read
one
this
more
book.
question, though. So this killer, he has a family. He had kids, right? What's the latest with them? How are they doing? Because I can't imagine if I found out my father was a serial killer, and how it would mess up with your mind.
So he has several daughters. He has a wife. They separated. And his kids didn't know that he was a serial killer. However, when we did a search warrant into the house, one of the daughters is a psychology major. You know what she was fascinated? by? Serial killers.
Okay.
We found books in the house about serial killers.
I have so many questions.
And this book is this is my kind of read.
Same.
I cannot wait to dive into it. Thanks for being here to
You're
tell us all
amazing.
about
Thank
it.
you so much.
Yeah,
It's always
what
good
an
to talk to
amazing
you.
life story, and I'm sure this book is just as good. All right, guys. So the new book, The People versus the Golden State Killer, is out now. You gotta read it.
Also, this afternoon, you can catch Thien Ho in conversation, as he just mentioned, with LA DA Nathan Hochman. He'll be signing books afterwards. It's at the Los Angeles Central Library at 3 p.m.